problem.
Driver default 101. Chassis default 01. Chassis default 01. Avoid 7th gear, Nico. Avoid 7th gear.
Well, what does that mean? I mean, I have to shift through it.
A firm, Nico. You need to shift through it. A firm. You just need to shift through it.
Chassis default 01 and gearbox problems for Nico Rosberg. If you remember, Rosberg retired from the race here in 2014 with gearbox problems as well.
They're allowed to tell him that if there's an imminent failure coming up.
So Rosberg is under investigation for some of the comments made over the radio.
The drivers are supposed to drive the cars alone and unaided, which is one of those massive catch-all phrases in the sporting regulations.
But what do you want to see? Drivers being forced to retire from a race because they haven't read the 900-page manual and know exactly what to do and identify a problem at 200 miles an hour?
This is ridiculous, guys. I don't know. Looking at my freaking dash every 5 seconds, trying to find a switch that's in the wrong position. I haven't changed anything or done something any wrong, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, Lewis, there's nothing that you're doing wrong. You've just got a setting that's incorrect.
In HVP.
I'm afraid I can't say, Lewis.
Well, I might not finish this race because I'm going to try and change everything.
We don't advise that, Lewis.
Can I make suggestions and you say it's okay or not?
No, that's not allowed. Let's just get heads down and focus on the job.
Tell us what you know about Nico's problem, and do you fear what the FIA might have a word about telling him stuff on the radio?
There was a gearbox issue, but we don't know what it is, basically. And there was discussion about it, but I think it was all in the limits.
Okay.
Christian Horner, let's bring him in. I can imagine there should definitely be a penalty, should there not, for Nico Rosberg. What's the Red Bull view on things?
Well, I think
unbiased, obviously.
It's obviously with the stewards, so it's for them to decide. I suppose the question that they'll be asking is, what would have happened if they hadn't have instructed him to, what to do? And he came past us very, very slowly, and obviously the instruction tidied up whatever the issue was with an engine mode and a gearbox position. That, as the rules are written today, it isn't right. So, but it's with the stewards; it's for them to decide.
But it should be, Christian, a way that we've got to fix the car to get the car to the end of the race. But is that the right thing for us as viewers to have?
Look, the rule's complete rubbish, to be honest. The drivers should be, that kind of thing should happen, and it should be, but it's not allowed. And
I think the basic idea of limiting the driver communication to not coaching them and not making them look like remote controlled is good. But maybe with these technologies and the amount of electronics, it should be allowed, at least when there is terminal failure inside, or when the driver can't cope with the electronics anymore. But the FIA needs to decide, and we will certainly discuss in the strategy group.
So what's your take on it? Because Nicky was saying he thinks that it's within the rules. We just had Christian Horner up there, but he was saying that he thinks that, under the current regulations, perhaps there should be a penalty. Are you expecting one from the stewards?
Yeah, I think he got the regulations wrong. In terms of the way he's interpreting.
Christian did.
Yeah, because if you have a terminal failure, you can act. Now, I wouldn't preempt what the FIA stewards decides, because they could decide either direction, and that is their call. But I think if you read the regulations like they are, it should be fine.
I was going to ask you about those messages, because we know that there was messages about driver default, chassis default, avoid 7th gear. Those messages, though, is why you're under investigation. So they do say that if it's critical in terms of safety, then teams do need to relay messages. But would you class those as critical in terms of safety?
That's going into too much detail. I'm not an expert on those things. It was definitely a very critical problem. I would have surely stopped there. So that's the main point.
Are you worried, though, that you might get a 5-second penalty or something for this? Because that would drop you down to third.
No, I'm not worried because the team have studied that in and out, the rules, so they know exactly what they can and can't say.
Okay, so moving on from here then, this gap has closed down.